Now we review the year 2000 film, Final Destination. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So I saw Final Destination Bloodlines, and naturally, I enjoyed it enough to want to see the rest of the series. And I would actually have classified Final Destination as something of a horror comedy. I'm going to grant you that the gore level is much lower in the original film, and the special effects are a little better. Not as much use of CGI, but this is the kind of film where a severed arm lands on someone's dinner plate, and that's kind of funny in and of itself. Now, the premise of Final Destination is, of course, somebody gets a premonition about a plane crash, and they cause a certain number of people to get off the plane, therefore damaging Death's plan, and now Death has to come after these people with these weird Rube Goldberg-esque kind of devices there, or it's like in Final Destination Bloodlines. This was it's like a math equation. Death sets things in motion, and those things going in motion cause the event. The problem with Death setting these things in motion and it causing the event is that Death has to defy physics to do it. So you have these, bizarre, like there's this one of the kills is somebody dies, in the bathroom. And it's like, Death appears to have possessed water to make them slip and then make this thing happen and then make that thing happen. And it just, what's going on here? It's that sequence of events looks like Death has a certain ability to manipulate reality, and in manipulating reality, it can only go so far. But I mean, in certain scenes, it goes much further than others. So it's not like the universe trying to balance itself. And then the dynamics and rules in the first film are a little different from that of Bloodlines. The rule in Bloodlines is in Bloodlines is you have to die in sequence. And in this film, if somebody saves your life, Death goes to the next person in the sequence. So it's like in Bloodlines, I'm gonna give you some spoilers for Bloodlines now, so be warned, spoilers. In Bloodlines, there's a moment where, Death, right in the beginning, where Death is about to kill this chick, right? And she's like, I see you, and stops it. It's like, yeah, okay, well, in the original movie, if that had happened, Death would then have to move on to a different person. That's how Death worked in the first film. So, no, you're not safe so long as X is alive. You're safe so long as, X and Y are alive. Everyone before you is alive. If those people cheat Death, you're next. That's how that works. So the rules are kind of weird, but it's one of those things you have to understand that in the movie lore, they say it's Death, all right? That does not make it Death, all right? In Aliens, for example, Hudson says, how could they cut the power, man? They're animals. It's more likely that the power was cut because the nuclear generator was damaged when they had that firefight in the hive. As the vent is going through the emergency venting process, certain things are probably breaking down. So the power was shut off based on that. It's more likely that than the aliens having actually shut off the power. That's how that works. So just because it's explicitly stated in the movie, it's not stated by a true oracle character that would know. It's stated by us humans observing the events. This is kind of how religion works. It's like in Africa, every village has their gods, and they worship those gods until they have a bad harvest. Then when they have a bad harvest, they get rid of those gods and carve new ones. Certain places in Africa, that's apparently how it works, according to my cultural anthropology class. So, yeah, is it truly death? This is a world where death is a thing. Okay, there are supernatural entities. So, other questions come up quickly. Are there ghosts in this universe? Is this a universe where Christianity is the correct religion? These are questions that don't need to be answered because this is a horror movie. But as horror movies go, what you have is extreme sorts of kills and a solid amount of tension. All right? Final Destination started a franchise. It was a solid premise. And if you're looking for a good horror movie, this is probably a pretty good one for you. It belongs in the upper half of your watch list. Can I say that it's on the par with some of the horror greats of the 80s? No, I can't say that. This is no Halloween. This is no Friday the 13th. This is no Nightmare on Elm Street. It's even no Scream. But all that aside, it's still a solid horror movie with a unique premise that will keep your attention. So, upper half of the watch list, but that's just my opinion. Love to hear yours. Comments below. I'm Richard.
Ladies, gentlemen, and human-type persons, I am Sergeant Duck, and I am tasking you with commenting on this video. You should also like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with your friends, and make a better, more disciplined world for you and for me. Dismissed!